So welcome to video number 2. This is a big one because this is a great starting point for you and wherever you are in your skill set. So I ask you the question, what skills do you possess today? Okay? Because this is a big deal and how you're going to minimize that fear I talked about in video 1. If you have specific skills that you've honed over time, then start there, because those are the things that are going to allow you to begin the work as a tradesman of some kind and not feel like you can't get the job done and do it well. Okay? So if you have painted before, start off with some smaller paint jobs. Somebody that needs a room painted, maybe just walls to begin with. And then, move on and figure out how to do the trim, how to paint doors, how to deal with, taking off handles and locks and those types of deals and door closures if you're working in some sort of, commercial application. So those are things that are very easy to do as long as you have a little bit of a bearing on what that is. And it's a great way for you to become a lot more confident when you get into those jobs and that paint job, the person says, hey, by the way, could you swap out this light fixture for me while you're doing this? And at that point, you have the opportunity to say, hey, yeah, I can do that. And it's not as hard as you think, okay? I'm not going to get into real hardcore specifics about any part of the trades, okay? Because it's a different time, different videos. But I will say this, there's many different places you can go to learn very rudimentary levels of plumbing, of electrical, of woodworking, all of that. Great resources are YouTube and things like that. But are you willing to continually learn different elements of this scope of being a tradesman so that you can expand your territory? Okay? So take the things that you know, continue to evolve and become better at things you don't, and don't bite off more than what you can chew. Okay? Because that will give you a ton of trepidation or anxiety. And trust me when I say, I did it in the beginning. And I'll give you a little bit of my inside story. So when I came out of building a company that had nothing to do with contracting, having a big family, I was in a position where when I started in this industry, I had to make money. Okay? I didn't have a choice. 6 kids and a lot to deal with, and I had to make money. And so I had to take jobs that gave me a lot of anxiety in the beginning because I didn't know how to do everything when I started. But I had to jump in with both feet, and it wasn't even dipping my toe in the water. I never even understood that part of it. I was up to here in my neck with jobs, and they just kept coming because I was willing to take them. Now, did I fail sometimes in the beginning? Yes. But I quickly got to the point where I knew that even if I screwed something up, I could fix it. Okay, and that's where you have to get to that point in this industry where even if you don't know how to do something, you say to yourself, you know what? If I screw it up, I fix it. It maybe cost me a little bit extra money and time, but I learned. Okay, and then also, and we'll talk about this more, it's being open and honest with the client if you do something that you screw up. You have to be willing to own it, step up, fix it, and make that client happy. It's just part of what you have to do to have integrity in this business. So understand what you can do, how you can adapt, how you can become better, how you can expand your territory, and then be willing to step through those doorways to make sure that you have the best opportunities to succeed. Every person's situation is different as far as what they're going through in their lives. Mine was rather dire at the time. Yours may not be, but it could be. You may be to that same point where you're losing your job. You're willing to do whatever it takes now to provide. And this is an amazing way to allow yourself to be challenged and to allow your family to succeed in a different way than maybe you ever thought possible. So the last point in this getting started, as a contractor, tradesman profession would be you're going to have some sort of insurance, okay? I specifically go through what's called Next Insurance, and they're one of the biggest for independent contractors, okay? and it's relatively low cost. It's around $50 a month, but it gives me peace of mind knowing that I have liability and even some coverage for physical damage that can happen if I was to go in and do something that damaged more than what I could repair on my own. Okay. You need it because some people, when you get into certain jobs, they're going to ask you to show that. And a lot of these policies, specific with Next, you can actually add an additional carry or somebody who's carried with it. So if you're doing a job for a commercial entity or a bigger job, you can actually name that person as a part of the insured along with it. So that gives them a peace of mind. It's necessary overall so that you also don't work for a long, long time, generate a decent amount of wealth, but then it's all taken away potentially because you had one mishap that was catastrophic. Okay, so it's a low-cost way, it's tax deductible, and it's something that you really need to get as a beginning point in your business. Another thing is going to be when you figure out what your skill set is and what you're good at is making sure that you have the proper tools to actually be able to do those jobs. I spend almost every day of my life when I'm out working at Home Depot at some point in the day. You can go to Lowe's, you can go to Menards in different parts of the country. It doesn't really matter where you go, but you have to find one of those retailers, those big box retailers that are going to have everything you need at one time. Because if you're not going to those types of places and you're going more to the local hometown place, they may have 80-90% of what you want, maybe a little more expensive. But the worst thing that you can do is be spending time just trying to go and get the tools and the resources you need to be actually do the job. Okay, so you're going to find tools that you're going to be investing in, that you're going to be using for a long, long time, years upon years. Supplies are going to be things that you're utilizing day to day. Okay, but the tool part of it, you're going to realize quickly that you're going to need more tools than you probably could imagine in order to really become successful in this industry. Okay. And the last thing I want to touch on now would be capital. And that is, if you can't start off with a lot of money in the bank to invest in this stuff, then you're going to have to figure out what it's going to take and how much money out of each job you're going to take to set aside so that you can continue to reinvest in your craft and in your business. And that is going to happen if you're going to expand. Okay? So it happened to me. I didn't have a lot of tools when I started, but I quickly realized that I could get into many other jobs if I just started to buy the little things. And when it came to tools for me, I didn't go out and buy the most expensive tools because I knew that they're going to get beat up. They're going to get thrown around in your truck or your van or whatever you have. They're not always going to be pristine. And so I always thought, if something breaks, I'd rather be able to go and buy another low-cost piece of equipment and use that than buy the high end that may break just as easy or may stop working just as easy, and then I'm out hundreds of dollars more than what I would have been had I not. Another thing that I do is I shop locally on different platforms. Could be Facebook, could be Craigslist, Nextdoor, those types of things, where you can find tools that people are getting rid of for pennies on the dollar compared to going to those other stores. But you just have to make sure that they're in good working condition and that you're not just throwing, even small amounts of money at a bad tool. And so, you're going to learn all these nuances as you go through this, but it's key critical that you have, your quiver filled with arrows, let's call it, so that when you go out to do the job, you can make sure you do the job and you do it at a high level with a level of expediency that, warrants you continuing to get jobs and being able to move from job to job, where you feel like, yeah, I did a good job there, but I also was, able to get in, get out, get it done, make the client happy, and move on to the next job and be okay with it. So I hope that helps you there. I look forward to getting into video 3 and talking about how to market the business that you're creating right now.